Our public safety system relies heavily on emergency communication. It allows first responders and other emergency personnel to coordinate efforts, receive updates, and help in times of crisis. However, serious consequences can occur when this communication is disrupted or interfered with, such as delays in response time and endangering lives. During a crisis or disaster, emergency communication refers to the various methods and systems used to transmit information and coordinate efforts between emergency personnel and other parties. Radio, phone systems and newer technologies, such as satellite communication and social media, are examples of these methods. Reliable emergency communication is critical for ensuring an efficient and effective emergency response. It enables first responders to quickly gather information about the situation, coordinate their efforts, and assist those in need. Reliable emergency communication can also help to lower the risk of harm to both emergency personnel and members of the general public. Emergency communication can be used to alert the public to evacuate, seek shelter, or access other resources in the event of a natural disaster. However, it becomes more challenging to ensure the safety and well-being of those affected by an emergency without reliable communication. Types of interference with emergency communication. Technical interference. Problems with the technical systems and infrastructure used for emergency communication are referred to as technical interference. Signal jamming, deliberately blocking or disrupting radio signals, network outages, failures of phone or internet systems, and equipment malfunctions are all examples of technical interference. Natural disasters, human error, and malicious intent are all examples of technological interference. Human interference. Individuals' actions that disrupt or interfere with emergency communication are referred to as human interference. Prank calls to emergency services, deliberate destruction or tampering with communication equipment, and other forms of disruption are examples of human interference. Human interference can be motivated by various factors, including a failure to recognize the importance of emergency communication or a desire to cause harm or chaos. Both types of interference can have severe consequences for emergency response and public safety. Therefore, it is crucial to identify and prevent or mitigate interference whenever possible. Consequences of interference with emergency communication. Interference with emergency communication can cause delays or failures in emergency response. For example, first responders can't communicate with one another or receive situation updates. In that case, their response time will be slowed, and their ability to assist will be hindered. Interference with emergency communication can completely disrupt an emergency response, failing to help. Endangerment of public safety. Interference with emergency communication can also endanger public safety. In an emergency, such as a fire or natural disaster, prompt and dependable communication is critical to protecting those affected. If emergency communication is disrupted, first responders may find it more challenging to locate and assist those in need, increasing the risk of harm or injury. Interference with emergency communication can also cause confusion and panic among the public, putting their safety at risk. In 2018, the city of Atlanta, Georgia, was hit by a ransomware attack, which disrupted multiple government systems, including the 911 emergency dispatch system. The attack caused response times to be delayed and forced emergency personnel to rely on alternative communication methods. In 2019, authorities in the United Kingdom reported a significant increase in hoax calls to emergency services. These prank calls waste valuable time and resources and endangers lives by delaying the response to genuine emergencies. In 2020, a group of people was arrested in Michigan for using a signal jammer to disrupt police radio communication. The jammer hampered officers' ability to respond to emergencies by preventing them from receiving important updates and information. These are just a few examples of interference that can disrupt emergency communications. To ensure the dependability and effectiveness of the emergency response, it is critical to be aware of and prevent such interference. Prevention and protection against interference. There are several steps that individuals can take to protect against interference with emergency communication. Use alternative communication methods. Access to alternative modes of communication can be helpful if traditional communication systems are disrupted or unavailable. This can include communicating with others via social media or messaging apps and having a backup phone or radio on hand. Know your location. It is critical for first responders to know your location in an emergency. Make sure you are familiar with your surroundings and can accurately describe your location if you need to call for assistance. Be aware of and report interference. It is critical to report any interference with emergency communication to the appropriate authorities. This helps avoid additional disruption and ensures that emergency personnel can respond effectively. Governments and organizations can also take steps to prevent and protect against interference with emergency communication. Invest in robust infrastructure. Having a reliable and redundant infrastructure for emergency communication systems can help to avoid disruptions caused by technical issues. This includes investing in backup power systems and communication networks, as well as maintaining and upgrading equipment on a regular basis. Implement legal penalties for interference. Governments can also enact laws and regulations that punish individuals and organizations that deliberately disrupt emergency communication. This can act as a deterrent and help to keep interference at bay. Educate the public. Raising awareness of the importance of emergency communication and the consequences of interfering with it can help to deter people from engaging in activities that disrupt it. Through campaigns and public information efforts, governments and organizations can educate the public about emergency communication. Reliable emergency communication enables first responders to coordinate efforts, receive updates, and provide assistance in times of crisis. Therefore, ensuring an efficient and effective response to emergencies is essential. Be aware of and report any potential interference with emergency communication that they encounter. Encouraging individuals to take an active role in protecting emergency communication helps prevent disruptions and ensure that first responders can respond effectively in times of crisis.